anybody in the community room have a camera, or I mean, not a camera, but a monitor to see all of us? Or are you guys blind?
You guys are on the big screen. They can see you guys.
Oh, okay. So it kind of looks like our screen then, probably.
Correct.
Okay.
Welcome everyone to the May board meeting for Ignite CDA, the City of Coeur d'Alene's Urban Renewal Agency. And if you would all stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Now, should we do roll call to make sure we've got all of our board members?
Sure.
Commissioner Harmon,
Yes, I'm here.
Commissioner Jordan,
Here.
Commissioner Metz,
Here.
Commissioner Mandel,
Yes, here.
and I see Commissioner English. Here. Commissioner Widmeyer.
Here.
Chairman Hoskins.
Here. Thanks, everybody. Now on the agenda would be the time normally for public comment, but due to teleconferencing idiosyncrasies and stuff, all of our public comment will be done by email to the Ignite website, please. Thank you. And now I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes from our April board meeting.
So moved.
Second.
This is your Mandel.
Thank you. Moved and seconded. Any corrections, comments? All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, say nay. Thank you. Motion passes. Next, we'll have a presentation from CDA 2030. Nicole, please come up. Drum roll, please.
I can screen share, but I don't know if it will mess up the camera. It should be. Okay.
So you say it just opened?
Reopened. Yeah, we opened in October and then,
Oh.
then we've been closed now for 2 months.
Thank you, sir. Hello, everyone. I'm Nicole Kaler, Executive Director of CDA 2030. Thank you so much for the opportunity to come today and report to you on our accomplishments and progress through the community vision. Before I start, I'd like to thank our current board member from Ignite CDA, Sarah Garcia, and our past board member, Olivia Metz. Before I get into the details, I think it's important to quickly recap what has been accomplished over the almost last 7 years. In 2013, we started as a project to update the 2020 goals from the City of Coeur d'Alene, which were established in 2001. In 2014, information was gathered through public forums, workshops, surveys, questionnaires, opinion polls, and interviews. Residents of diverse backgrounds expressed their ideas and provided input on this vision. As a result of this community-wide effort involving thousands of citizens, a long-range vision was created as well as an implementation plan. Our vision is our goal for where we want to be in the year 2030, and our plan roadmaps how we get there. In this plan, it includes 36 strategies and 180 actions. In June of 2014, we released the implementation plan, and the City Council passed a resolution to adopt the community vision, the strategies, and the implementation plan. We started out as a project, but now are a nonprofit organization. Our organization works with lead partners to implement priority actions, as well as monitor and track the implementation plan to ensure that our living document is current. CDA 2030's overarching mission is to guide the greater Coeur d'Alene community in realizing its vision for a bright future together. As a nonprofit group, we help local businesses, government, community organizations carry out the vision and implementation plan. We strive to spark action, enhance collaboration, and be the neutral conveners. Our organization is led by a board of 21 committee members who are all volunteers. These individuals represent a cross-section of our community, including city government, education, health and wellness, finance, real estate, local business, the Coeur d'Alene Tribe, and other nonprofit organizations. In addition to these board members, an additional 6 committee members serve on our marketing, implementation, and sustainability committees. The organization continues to be staffed by me as executive director and a project coordinator, Marie Nail, for 1.5 positions. CDA 2030 would not be able to function without financial support. On this slide, we recognize our current 38 sponsors. We are so grateful for the sponsorship that Ignite and the City of Coeur d'Alene provide, as well as their continued support and confidence in us. We also thank those independent organizations and business donors. Since January, we have raised nearly $7,800, which has been a real challenge these past few months as we enter the pandemic. Now I will play, or I might have to ask Jeff to play this next video. Let me see if I have controls. Here we go.
CDA 2030 is a community-based project organized to create a bright future for the greater Coeur d'Alene area. But how did it all start? In 2013, members of our community helped us imagine what Coeur d'Alene would look like in 2030. Project turned into a nonprofit organization. CDA 2030 uses public forums, workshops, surveys, opinion polls, interviews, a website, and social media to collect and complete data about our vision for the future. Greater Coeur d'Alene residents joined committees and workshops to successfully craft a long-range vision and implementation plan for the Coeur d'Alene area. Benjamin Franklin once said, "If you fail to plan, then you're planning to fail." Our vision and implementation plan focuses on 6 key themes. Has been a dynamic year for reaching our goals. But there's so much yet to be done. Learning from our community and continuing to strive for our goals. How can you get involved? And always stay tuned for any upcoming events and ways to stay connected. In the words of Albert Einstein, the true sign of intelligence is not knowledge, but imagination.
Tell who was in control there. So now I'll go over a few of our priority actions that we're focusing on this year. CDA 2030 is an active partner in the Our Gym Collaborative. It's all around lake management. Our goal is to promote broader community awareness of water quality issues as it affects our region, and specifically to the Coeur d'Alene Lake. Our Gym Collaborative is composed of committed and passionate partners from the University of Idaho Community Water Resource Center, the Coeur d'Alene Tribe Lake Management Department, the Idaho Department of Environmental Quality, Kootenai Environmental Alliance, the Coeur d'Alene Chamber of Commerce Natural Resources, and of course CDA 2030. In the past 6 years, we've organized 4 Our Gym symposiums to bring together scientists, policymakers, and citizens around topics on lake health. During the last symposium, Commissioner Filio stated, "The lake is essential. I actually believe this region will live or die by the health of the lake." After the symposium, the Our Gym Collaborative came together to put together a press article series. You may have seen a few of them already released. The article series is really intended to educate citizens on responsible stewardship. So the last few articles were on lawn and garden care and stormwater. Other articles will feature responsible recreation and construction, as well as topics on heavy metals, wastewater, and hazardous materials. Our next priority action is early care and education, also referred to as child care. Evidence overwhelmingly supports that early childhood education is a significant way to benefit a child's school readiness, a family's ability to work, and community prosperity. However, providing high-quality care is expensive, and recruitment and retention of quality providers is difficult. Childcare is vital to our workforce. I kind of joke that when I was pregnant with my son, the director of the child care center knew before my family did, because it's so challenging to find spaces in our community for infants. The Panhandle Health District, United Way of North Idaho, and Mountain State Early Head Start have developed a task force which we participate in to address some of these challenges. Last year, the task force was awarded a Preschool the Idaho Way grant from the Idaho Health and Welfare Department. Initially, this is funding, first, a guide for a business-supported model of early care and education as a business employee benefit. So just like Kootenai Health has a center for their employees to take their young students. We also will work on strengthening the early care and education workforce by investing in professional development, business planning, and training. And then the last aspect of this, which is just starting, is we're working on a public information campaign to explain the need and provide a call to action for businesses and community leaders to get involved in this issue. Just during the pandemic, 78 child care providers in Region 1 closed. The task force is working as well as they can to support the ones that are staying open through relief funds and also supply drives for things like cleaning supplies and toilet paper, which can be hard to come by. As job creation is a focus of Ignite, I'd love to continue to work on this with you and collaborate to figure out ways that we can incorporate child care centers in future economic developments. Now I'll move to East Sherman. CDA 2030 has collaborated on East Sherman since 2015, and we're excited to see it move into the implementation phase. We're starting to see the corridor take shape every day and new businesses pop up. In collaboration with the city, we've held 2 open houses, stakeholder interviews, a transportation audit, and 5 parking it on Shermans. The last year, we had nearly 2,000 people attend through a rainy event, and it was an incredible and fun time to be had. In 2017, we co-authored a $70,000 Community Builders Grant with the City Planning Department and were awarded. The team has worked with community builders to launch a project website, create a leadership committee, host a strategy workshop and design studio, test popular changes on the 1600 block, and are working to complete the revitalization plan. We are currently evaluating costs and maintenance of streetscape designs following a recent department head meeting, and hope to take the plan to council in a couple months if we can get through the pandemic. We are also working to provide some education to property owners on funding mechanisms, such as local improvement districts and business improvement districts, as well as things like business associations before a formal request is made. Our next project is Opening Books, Opening Doors. If you remember, the Inovia Foundation awarded a $600,000 grant, and it really is a community initiative to ensure by the year 2020 that all students exiting third grade are meeting reading proficiency goals. This is an important benchmark for success. One challenge we have is a lot of the spring testing didn't take place this year, but we have seen progress made over the last 3 years. Through the partnership, our key strategies are kindergarten readiness, quality teachers in literacy-rich environments, parent engagement, and out-of-school learning. Multiple programs have been implemented, from innovative continuing education for teachers to summer backpack programs for students that are not meeting these proficiency goals. Last year, approximately 700 students in our district did not meet those goals, and that was K through second grade. CDA 2030 directly coordinates the Adopt a Classroom Library program. This is for new teachers who typically are coming to the profession without any sort of supplies or support from the district to buy these supplies. For only $500, individuals, businesses, and organizations can help build a classroom library to make that literacy-rich environment. The positive impact from over 30 classroom adoptions has been dramatic, and now we're continuing to work on the program with social emotional learning books for every classroom in the district K through 3. As our district continues to grow and we recruit new teachers, we see this program continuing to fill a gap. Last, I will talk about Envision Coeur d'Alene. So far, we've held a community launch event, played the Growing Better, Last September, we publicly launched Envision Coeur d'Alene with the City of Coeur d'Alene. From our perspective, we needed to revisit the language that was in the implementation plan and make sure that it was relevant for our community as trends and technologies have changed. Envision Coeur d'Alene is a unique listening campaign designed to gather input from our citizens, and it will be used to update the CDA 2030 implementation plan as well as the comprehensive plan. This information is really focused on the current needs of our community. So here's a timeline. So far, we launched in the fall of 2019 when we held our community launch event. Throughout the fall, we played the Growing Better Places game. Did any of you have a chance to do that? No? Well, you have to check one out at the library. We also have posted online surveys and worked with focus groups to develop a policy framework, which includes a vision, guiding principles, objectives, and actions, all of which are now required as a part of Idaho's comprehensive plans. We're currently working on strategies to engage the public in a broad way during the pandemic and do some land use modeling. We're in phase 3 right now and hope to stay on track for a winter adoption of the plan. In closing, we are the organization held responsible to move our community's vision and plan forward. We're leveraging the talent of our board and community partners to the benefit of our community. We're excited to continue this work. Thank you for your time and support, and now I will answer any questions you may have.
Thanks, Paul. Questions? Anybody?
I have some questions for you, Nicole. This is Olivia.
Hi, Olivia.
Hi. First of all, thank you for all your work and hard work and dedication, for all the very impactful work that you guys have done. Since some of the board members may not know how CDA 2030 is structured, I was wondering if you could answer a couple questions around, is Ignite one of the top funders, for one? And then for two, do any of your funders provide funds to specific projects?
So we continue to diversify who has funded 2030 and engage more businesses because we believe ownership is very important. But Ignite CDA is one of our largest funders along with the city of Coeur d'Alene. And then, sorry, Olivia, what was your second?
Do any of your funders provide funds to specific projects?
Yes, so as I had mentioned, some of our funders do provide sponsorship of specific projects, like the Anovia Foundation supports the Opening Books, Opening Doors project specifically. But in the past, they've also supported our operations. And that's a little bit more minimal. We do try to seek grant funding for a lot of the projects that we support.
Anybody else? Thanks, Nicole.
Thank
you
you.
very much.
Thank you.
Take care. Good job. All right, next up is committee reports. Finance Committee, Commissioner Arman.
Thank you, Scott. So this is probably the shortest finance report I've ever given in all the years I've been giving it. So this is probably a good thing we have Zoom to shorten all of our reports. First of all, in the balance sheet for the Lake District, in the assets, the Lake District experienced a $419,296 decrease in cash assets from March month end. Receivables due from the Atlas District, $1,101 increase from March month end, reflecting Atlas District share of G&A costs. Fixed assets were no change, and other assets, the Lake District 2016 series note reserve account had an increase of $76 for the month of April. Liabilities and fund balance, bonds, no changes. All other liability parameters were either unchanged or normal for the month, including a 2% credit to the due to the arts line item due to the county increment check received in April. The Lake District P&L, the Lake District received $72,980 in tax increment revenue from the county in April. Agency funded initiatives, the Atlas Waterfront Project, $484,363. The breakdown, Welch-Comer Team, $54,112. Tila Riviera Contracting, $430,251. All other P&L expenditures and the line items are in line with normal operating month. Moving on to the River District balance sheet. The assets, the River District experienced a $167,599 decrease in cash assets from March month end. The Atlas deposit receivable, $37,000 increased due to the additional loan funds to the Atlas District for mill site project work. On the liabilities and fund balance, all liability parameters were either unchanged or normal for the month, including the 2% credit due to the yards and line item due to the April county increment check. The River District P&L, the River District received $16,747 in tax increment revenue from the county in April. Agency funded initiatives, the Atlas Phase 1 Waterfront Project, $127,810. Breakdown, Welch-Comer Team, $57,769. Tila Riviera Contracting, $70,041. All other P&L expenditure line items are in line with the normal operating month, with 45% of G&A cost share expenses. And the Atlas District balance sheet assets, the Atlas District experienced an $85 increase in cash assets from March month end due to the additional loan funds from the River District. Liabilities and fund balance due to the River District, $37,000 increase due to additional loan funds received from the River District, and due to the Lake District, $1,101 increase for G&A costs. The Atlas District P&L, the Atlas District received $0 in tax increment revenue from the county in April. Agency funded initiatives, Stimson Mill Site Atlas Project Phase 1, $36,915 with the Welch-Comer Team. All other P&L expenditure line items are in line with normal operating month with 5% G&A cost share expenses. That is the financial report for me.
Thank you, sir.
Moving on to payables. First payable item is for Elam and Burke, total of $1,850.35. The breakdown, general legal counsel legislative issues was $40. The Lake URD Midtown Project, $1,000. The River URD Atlas Project, $590.35. In the health corridor, URD general issues $220, once again for $1,850.35. Second was Holly Troxel, general legal counsel, $2,689. Lake URD Midtown Project, Atlas Waterfront Project, and the Atlas Waterfront Project, $1,528. The River URD, the Atlas Project, $1,481. And the Atlas District and the Lake District legal notices for sale of areas 12 and 13, the RFP was $114.50 for a total of $5,812.50. The third payable was for Jobs Plus for the fiscal year 20 contract for $5,000. And then the Atlas Mill Site Initiative, the total project payment for this month was $499,385.36. Payables were Welsh Comer Team Amendment Number 7, Waterfront Construction Services, $48,200. Welsh Comer Team Amendment Number 8, Phase 1 Infrastructure Design and Final Plat, $29,574. Welsh Comer Team Amendment Number 9, Phase 1, Heartland A&E, the Heartland A&E and DDA, total cost was $2,343.75. And Tila Riviera Construction Atlas Waterfront Project, $419,267.61 for a total of $499,385.36. Total payables for this month is $512,048.21. That is the payables.
Thanks, Mick. Now, Leonard.
I will make a motion to approve the financials and payables as presented.
Thanks, Steve.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any comments? Discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Thanks, Mick.
Thank you.
Next up is Parking Commissioner Jordan.
I have a really short report for you as well, Mr. Chairman. The May meeting was canceled, so we're hoping to have a June meeting. As far as the parking revenues go, you probably saw the article in the paper last week. They're way down. So that's my report. When we get together and have another meeting, I'll get you some exact numbers, but they're down as would be expected with the virus.
Correct. Okay, thanks. Next on the agenda is the Executive Director's Report. Tony.
The first item on the report is regarding the Atlas project, the acceptance of the Livrier Inc. contract assignment from the city of Coeur d'Alene. I sent you a kind of a template for that transfer. The document is out for signature at this time. The city has signed the document, and we are waiting for signature and consent from the contractor before the agency will sign. We are also waiting to receive an insurance certificate indicating that Ignite CDA is an additionally insured party on La Riviere's insurance policy. Jeff, I have a PDF out there that I can just kind of walk through the transfer or the contract assignment document. If you can pull that up for me.
Can you grab it, Tony? We don't know which one it is.
I can't see it on here. I guess I can go up. There's a PowerPoint. It should be a PDF. 2 PDFs up there. Not working?
Or not.
Jeff, I'm not quite sure how to get to the PDF off the screen down here. We don't see anywhere where we can get it. I loaded it on the laptop. There they are. There we go. Thanks for the help. Whoop. Okay, hopefully everybody can see that. Can our Zoom attendees see that screen?
Yes, I can.
Okay. So I just kind of wanted to walk through the main aspects of the assignment. As you see, on October 15, 2019, the City of Coeur d'Alene entered into contract for the Atlas Waterfront Project with Tila Riviere. On November 5th, the city and Ignite entered into a financing agreement for the waterfront project. And on April 21st, 2020, the city went ahead and authorized the assignment of the waterfront park contract to Ignite CDA to enable the agency to utilize the contractor to make improvements on the Atlas Mill site beyond the scope of the park project. This is the final part of the assignment document, just with some caveats on what needs to happen. So all improvements within the park will be completed and paid for pursuant to the Atlas or to the Waterfront Park contract and the financing agreement. Upon completion and payment of all work on the park, the financing agreement shall terminate. For all change orders to the Waterfront Park contract unrelated to the park, Ignite CDA will ensure that all the insurance and bonding requirements under the Waterfront Park contract remain in effect. For all change orders to the Waterfront Park contract unrelated to the park, Ignite CDA will make all payments due to obtain the release of liability for taxes from the contractor. And for all change orders to the Waterfront Park contract unrelated to the park, the city agrees to a timely review and approve all construction draw requests to enable Ignite CDA to make timely payments to the contractor pursuant to the Waterfront Park contract. So that's the essence of the assignment document. And like I said, we're waiting for one more signature before the agency can sign. So I'd entertain any questions you might have.
No questions.
Tony, this is an action item still though, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And so I kind of drafted a motion that might be, if any board member might want to motion this, this a motion to accept the La Riviere Inc. Atlas Project contract assignment from the City of Coeur d'Alene, conditioned on receiving a signed copy of the assignment document by both the City of Coeur d'Alene and La Riviere Inc. and receipt of an insurance certificate indicating that Ignite CDA is an additionally insured party on La Riviere's insurance policy.
I would make that motion.
Looking for a second?
I'll second. Olivia.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, say nay. Hearing none, the motion passes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Next up is the Atlas Project authorization for La Riviere Inc. to perform Phase 1 mass grading. I'd like to invite Phil Boyd with Welch Gilmer Engineers to visit with the board on this topic.
Thank you, Tony. Maybe I can get my presentation up there, please, Jeff. It's the middle one, that one. Perfect, thank you. Good afternoon, Chairman Hoskin and Commissioner members. So the part of the project we're going to talk about is Phase 1 in this area. up to this point, we have been completely focused on building the park project, which is the waterfront part. We're now moving into building the infrastructure to support the upland development. And the first phase of that is to remediate the unconsolidated soils in this area. And just as a refresher for the board, the areas that are currently under A&E negotiations are 1, 2, 6 is over here, 8 and 10, and then I think for the board's consideration today are 12 and 13. So the areas that I'm going to focus on talking about for Le Riviere's proposed contract is this area 1 here. Before I get into that, I wanted to just refresh the board's memory because you've now moved from, or proposing, potentially moving from being an entity that is funding a public work or public park project to an entity that's going to be funding infrastructure construction so you can develop the land, so you can sell the land, and it's a cascading effect. And so I put this graphic together. In the memo that I sent to you and the board, there's a cash flow analysis of it, and this is just a simplified version of that tied to a graphic, so hopefully it's more understandable than just a spreadsheet. So Ignite initially invests $4,567,000 in this phase 1 area. The proposed contract that you're considering today for Le Riviere is within that $4,567,000. So it's earthwork, infrastructure, roads, landscaping. It's completing the subdivision. Once that happens, you're then able to sell $9.5 million worth of land, which generates a net of $4,930,000. So you're able to sell $9.5 million in land. And like any good developer, the first thing you do is pay yourself back, because up here you invested $4.5 million. You sell the land, you pay yourself back, you have net proceeds. So now you take those net proceeds and roll them into phase 2. You spend some money on infrastructure, you sell land. You can see that's almost a wash right there. But you still have a cumulative net. You take that net proceeds, roll it into phase 3, this area up in here, put in some infrastructure, sell some more land, cumulative net goes up, and so on. In through phase 4. So this number right here should match close to what you have in the cash flow in the memo I sent you. It's important to note this looks really rosy, but you didn't pay for the land. All you're doing is, in this illustration, is just doing infrastructure and selling land. And obviously there's a discussion to be had with the city about reimbursement of that, which is a separate discussion. But I wanted to at least present this, Chairman Hoskins, just so it was kind of, hopefully it's clear to the board that we're moving into a different mode. We're not just in building park, we're now moving into building infrastructure for land development. So the first place to start on that is to deal with this area right here. And to give you kind of orientation, this is Atlas Road coming down here, Southeast Way. You're looking over at the Douglas parcel there. The city's property ends right in this area. You can see our waterfront project here. And this is approximately the location of the wheeled trail. And so the future road goes in this area. This area here has a relatively deep zone of unconsolidated soil. And when I say unconsolidated soil, at some point in the past, it was picked up and put back down, or something was in there and it was pulled out and soil was pushed back into it, but it wasn't compacted, so it's not suitable for building upon. The reason we know the extent of that is about 2 years ago, Ignite funded a geotechnical study where we went out there and dug test pits all over that area in order to map where the unsuitable soils exist. And so we went out and dug test holes all over the place in order to generally define that boundary. And so what we do is we figure out how deep that soil goes, we map it, we create what's called a surface where it has to be excavated down, and Le Riviere will go in and literally pull that soil out of there and then put it back down. And when they put it back down, they'll put it back down and the configuration that sets us up to build these roads in here. So they'll grade to finish grade, or to subgrade, so it'll be ready for the next phase of the project. The next phase of the project, which is all the underground water, sewer, storm, roads, that's not part of this scope. And when I had been working this through with Tony, he said, let's just go slowly with this, make a small investment until we get further along with completing the negotiations with the buyers of the areas that we've talked about up in here. So that's what the proposed scope of work is. The way we arrived at the cost for that is we just started with negotiating with La Riviere from what his original phase one negotiation was. And remember, we had two contractors that we negotiated at the time, so we had some reference points for unit pricing. And we went in and we started here. This was the Waterfront Park project, and this is what La Riviere originally started. What we're paying him for the park project. Now the park project is a little more complicated. It's a narrow corridor, and as you can tell in here, it's kind of a wide open area. The work is more efficient. So we negotiated pricing down, and these look like relatively small numbers. When you look at it, it's like, well, 65 cents a cubic yard is not a big number, but when you're dealing with 50,000 cubic yards, it turns into a big number. So roughly this represents about a 15% decrease in the unit pricing overall what we paid La Riviere for the first phase of the work in the park project. When you put all that together, these are the pay items that we would propose paying them. And remember, the way that we work with the contractors is that it's unit price contracting, so they get paid for what they do. We're estimating that it's a 54,000 cubic yard earthwork project, but if it's 50,000, we pay them for moving 50,000 yards of material. If it's 55,000, we pay them for moving 55,000 yards of material, and that's the most equitable way for both the owner, Ignite, and the contractor to do the work. So the proposed contract value, unit price contract value, would be $648,000. You'll notice one of the things that's missing in here is mobilization, which that's typically a pretty big number for a contractor to move all of his stuff into the site, all of his equipment. Well, one of the advantages here is La Riviere is already there. The other advantage is if Ignite authorizes this work today, they'll start on Tuesday on doing the earthwork, and they'll be finished by the end of June. They'll be finished with the work that's in this proposal. So I know that's a lot of information, and I'm glad to answer any questions if there are any.
Question?
I have a question if nobody else does. This is Olivia. Phil, in the cash flow projection, the years were all 2020. So I meant to email you about this because I wasn't sure it wasn't clear to me when the earthwork was projected in what year. Can you just tell me if it was year one or year two?
It's yeah, thank you for catching that. I caught it today as well, and I sent Tony an updated version of it, so I apologize for that typographical error. The start of the work is 2020, so this work that you're looking at here is in 2020, and that cash flow projection goes from 2020 to 2026.
Okay, so in the first year of the cash flow projection then?
Yes.
Okay.
Any other questions?
If I might just add a thought here, so that if the board chooses to proceed with that $648,000 contract proposal, 60% of that cost will be paid by the River District and 40% will be paid by the Atlas District. And we do have sufficient funds in both those budgets in this current fiscal year to handle that cost.
Phil, what's the estimated mobilization savings?
Well, it's typically we estimate mobilization bonds and whatnot somewhere around 12 to 15%. You'll see in this number here, this bonds and insurance number, which is right underneath there, that's at about 5%. So we're probably somewhere around an 8% savings, so $48,000, $50,000. It's not an insignificant, you kind of think about, well, how big of a deal is it to move equipment in there? And you'll see some pictures later here with how much equipment that they have there and the size of the equipment. So it's not an insignificant amount of money. Plus, they move in their job trailers, they set up all the site stabilization and a bunch of other things, which they're there. And so we have quite a bit of savings associated with that. And just the administrative savings. One of the things I mentioned to Tony is, because this work is occurring simultaneously while we're on site, so my construction inspector is already on site working on the park project. Our survey crew goes out and does spot checks, not associated with this line item down here, but we're already on site. So there's no additional engineering costs that Ignite's occurring because we're already there. We can get La Riviere going and we'll just continue to inspect that work at no additional cost to Ignite, which is another savings that you don't necessarily see in here. If this was a standalone project that occurred, let's say in October, we would then be remobilized to the site.
Okay, thanks.
So I will make a motion for authorization for La Riviere Inc. to perform Phase 1 mass grading.
A second. Commissioner Metz?
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Thank you. Motion carries. Thanks, Phil.
Mr. Chairman, next on the report is the Atlas Project Areas 12 and 13 proposal awards. As I shared with the board, the proposal review and scoring committee met and reviewed the two proposals received. We only had one proposal for each area, and they were both submitted by the DeChase Mixed Development Team out of Boise. The committee reviewed the proposals and found them all were followed the RFP and were acceptable, and recommends to the board that the board award the areas 12 and 13 to DeChase Mixes. Given that, I'd like to just kind of walk through for the audience what the proposals are. And Jeff, once again, I will ask you to pull up my second PDF file there. It has the conceptual, there it is. Oop. See if I can drive this. Okay, good deal. So first up, if everyone can see that, is Area 13.
Tony, we can't see it.
Can't see it.
There you go.
Now we can, thank you.
Thanks, Jeff. So you see, this is Area 13. Area 13 on the graphic on the right is highlighted in red, so you kind of see in context on the Atlas Mill site where this area is. And on the left, you can kind of get an idea of what the developers envisions on that site. So the developer is proposing 3 buildings with a public courtyard and either 24 to 30 units of condo or high-end apartment rentals, plus 5,000 square feet of ground floor retail. Layout of buildings is sensitive to view corridors. The offer price is $30 per square foot or $1.45 million. So I'll walk through a couple graphics that he has that depicts how this concept will lay out on the ground. This is view A. You can kind of see in the little cheater graphic up in the right-hand corner where view A is looking as you look at the concept. View B, looking in from the river. View C, kind of looking down towards the river through the development concept. And view D, kind of looking at the development concept from the waterfront park that is currently being constructed. As for Area 12, the developer, oops, too fast there. The developer proposing 4 mixed-use buildings with residential above ground floor commercial space. Proposal is for 69 residential units, a mix of 1 and 2 bedrooms, 4,400 square feet of commercial and 2,074 square feet of common space. Offer price is $15 per square foot or $1.25 million. This depiction graphic shows the Area 12 is on the western edge of the development site. And you can kind of see how the developer is proposing the buildings to be constructed with the following views. This is view A, which is looking from east to west. View B, also kind of looking from east to west on the upper end of the development. View C, which is looking east to west on the bottom part of the development next to the river. And view D, which is kind of looking in from the river off the walking, biking paths that are being constructed as part of the waterfront project. Entertain any questions you have on these proposals, but it is a recommendation by the committee for the board to approve these awards.
Good.
This is Mandela. I would just say, sitting on the review committee, I think they did a job responding not only to the development standards, but just kind of the development objective and vision of this area in terms of commerce and connectivity. And so their proposal was really, really very sound. Just to read, it comes with recommendation for approval.
Tony, we're also going to push pretty heavily to try to have Area 13 closed in fiscal year 21, aren't we? Isn't that a project?
Yes, let me back that up.
Because that is in the Lake District.
Right, so if you look at the graphic, once again, thank you, Commissioner Arman, Area 13 is in the Lake District, and as we know, the Lake District terminates in 2021. So we are working with the developer, should the board go ahead and approve these proposals to close on that acquisition by the end of fiscal year 2021, which would be September of 2021. So I believe we can do that. We can pull that off. Our Hartley consultants think that's definitely viable. And so that would be part of the endeavor.
I would make a motion that we accept the offer to purchase areas 12 and 13 as proposed.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? I want to thank the committee for reviewing all these RFPs. I know it's a lot of work. Appreciate it. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Thanks, everybody.
Next item on the report, Mr. Chairman, is the Health Corridor Traffic Study, update and proposed funding strategy. So just some background on this initiative. On March 9th this year, KMPO, the organization that is managing the traffic study request for a proposal of the RFP process, issued the RFP with proposals due by April 9th. KMPO received 3 proposals for the Health Corridor Traffic Study RFP from the following firms: Dowell Consulting, Fair and Piers, which is based out of Salt Lake, and HD8R Engineers. The traffic study proposal review team comprised of representatives from KMPO, City of Coeur d'Alene, Ignite CDA, Kootenai Health, and Idaho Transportation Department, reviewed and scored the proposals and interviewed all 3 firms the week of May 4th. Of the 3 proposals submitted for the Health Corridor Traffic Study, the selection committee selected Dow to perform the study. So Dow, the lead person from Dow is based out of Portland, Oregon, and the local representative is based out of their office in Spokane. Contract and negotiations are currently underway with Dow, with an estimated project funding cost of about $250,000. The proposed funding strategy for the Dow traffic study is as follows. Ignite CDA would pay for 30% of the study. ITD would pay for 30% of the study. Kootenai Health would pay for 30% of the study. KMPO would pay for 10% of the study, and the City of Coeur d'Alene would pay 0%. So as of now, ITD has agreed to the 30% funding metric. Kootenai Health has also agreed to the 30% funding metric, but due to the current COVID-19 financial situation, they've asked if maybe another entity could step up and kind of help them out, kind of front the cash for the study, and they would be paid, and they would pay back their share in 2021. And the Ignite CDA Finance Committee is supportive of the agency's 30% metric, and KMPO has agreed to the 10% metric. Given Kootenai Health's current financial situation, the Ignite CDA Finance Committee is supportive of Ignite CDA covering Kootenai Health's 30% share of the study, with Kootenai Health reimbursing the agency in 2021. I've talked to Kootenai Health representatives, and they are supportive of that proposed arrangement. So the KMPO is waiting for all of the entities to get formal approval by their lead organizations before they enter formal contract negotiations with Dow. We are, tonight, if the board agrees, we will give them our formal authorization to cover both Ignite's share and Kootenai Health's share. Entertain any questions.
Can you please state what those dollar amounts are for everybody?
75,000, the 30% equates to about 75,000 each.
For the 30,000?
And the 10% would be 25,000. So the ask for Ignite today would be $150,000, which we have available in the River District for such a purpose. Once again, this would be basically a loan to the Health Corridor District of $75,000 or $150,000 for the traffic study, and then we would have an amount owed back to the River District once we get the Health Corridor financial statements structured.
Okay. Looking for a motion.
This is Commissioner Mandel's motion that we approve the $150,000 for the traffic study for the Health Corridor study on condition of repayment in 2021 by Kootenai Health.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Thanks, Tony. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Next up on the report is the Atlas Project update. Once again, I'd like to welcome Phil Boyd back to the podium.
Thank you, Tony. Jeff, if you don't mind bringing up the presentation one more time. The middle far right.
You can grab it if you want.
Oh, thank you. That's the one. Okay. So now I'm going to give you the board an update on the progress of the park project. Recently completed the trails in the landscape, retaining walls, the sand beach, and I'll show you some pictures of that. Ongoing work, which this is a repeat of what I presented to the board last month, is buildings, irrigation system, landscaping, flat work, Suzanne Road, and the parking lot is starting to take shape. This is obviously more meaningful to look at in pictures. I can't help but start with that picture because that's what it used to look like, and this is looking west. This is what it looks like now. Doesn't look like a gigantic change, but there's been a tremendous amount of work in this area. There's lots of irrigation work that's occurring in here because the park area along the river is irrigated. The landscaping is obviously irrigated in there. This is phase one that I mentioned earlier. This is a shot looking back towards the east. You can see the shoreline stabilization wall here. The water is not quite up to Summer Pool. When it's up to Summer Pool, the water will be about in that area. And this is an area that will get a substantial amount of landscaping in here. This is the pedestrian trail, so it'll be gravelled. And then up here is the wheeled trail, where the bikes and skateboarders will be. One of the questions I get fairly often is, why is this so much higher than this area? Why couldn't it all been lower? And just to refresh the board's memory, all the idea to make the entire site ADA accessible. So that upland area, we want folks to be able to move from the development area into this area through ADA compliant routes. And so that's why the topography changes so much up in that area. This is a picture looking back to the west. This was in December. And if you notice in this area here where the restroom building is, restroom picnic shelter, and in this area where the maintenance and storage building is at, and where Suzanne would come down this way, you see them working in the Suzanne area right now. And so this is what it looks now. You can see Suzanne comes in. You can see the parking lot is starting to take shape. And right back there is the maintenance and storage building. This is Area 6. That's one that's under A&E. And here's the restroom picnic shelter. This is Area 13 down in this area here. You can see all the equipment I mentioned earlier that's currently on site. This is looking now back to the east. Again, the restroom building, picnic shelter down here being framed. And you can see this is the wheeled path. And then the pedestrian path is down here along the river. When the weather gets better, it'll be a good time to conduct another site walkthrough because it's really starting to take shape out there. This is the curb and gutter that's being placed for Suzanne. And one of the things I'll mention that I didn't mention earlier about the La Riviere contract, the board knows we made good use of the Mount Hink material in the park project. We processed the material on site. Part of what we're doing with the phase one work is we're going to continue to try to use that. And so we're going to strategically use it. And so I'm going to zip back to this area, this picture here. So the picture I was just showing you is the curb along that area. And you can see that this road, the proposed road in the future, goes right through Mount Hink in this corner. Well, this phase one area is short on material. We need about 24,000 yards of new material because it's low. So to make it developable, we need to import material. Typically, we would import that off-site, but what we want to do is make use of the material on this site. So in La Riviere's contract, we have time to go out there and start prospecting. And one of the first areas we're going to prospect is right in that area with the geotechnical engineer to start identifying soils that we can process. So we're killing two birds with one stone. We're starting to set up this alignment for this road by, I'll scroll forward now, removing that big pile of dirt because the future road kind of continues right up that way. So we intend to go in and start, you can see this has been undisturbed and we think that there's good soils in there. We did one test hole that you can kind of see right in that area, but we think that there's opportunity to mine that material out of there and set ourselves up for killing two birds with one stone. This is a picture that's kind of looking back and you can see, kind of look in this area here and now see how much of that we've mined out of there already just as part of the park project. And so the more we can take out of there, the more cost effective it makes the future phases of that project. The estimate that I showed you earlier in the cost estimates that are in it don't anticipate us being more cost effective. So we have a conservative cost estimate with the objective of trying to be more cost effective as we move forward. This is looking back through the beach area. You guys have seen that photograph before, and this is what it looks like now. These are picnic areas, so there'll be picnic tables on them and trees, and you can just lightly see the sand going in the beach area here. So during one of the walkthroughs, several of the board members expressed the desire, can we have sand material in there? There's a little bit of risk associated with that because if we have a gigantic spring runoff, there's the potential that that sand might get moved out of there, which is why we didn't put it in initially, and we've talked about that at the prior board meetings. Here you can see the landing for the kayak launch, and this is the ADA accessible swim launch. This is just a shot we took back on the beach area here. The water's not quite at Summer Pool. Pool will be right about in here. It's pretty close to Summer Pool, and the reason we leave that big gap in there, and you guys read it on the front page of the newspaper today, is the wake run up. And we're trying to provide an opportunity for the wakes to run up this area and not wash the sand away in there. So that's the reason that we call them stream bed gravels still remain in there. You can see over here is the seat wall. This is actually a shot back in the dog park. This is the seat wall in the dog park, and there'll be a dock that goes out there. So if you have a water dog that you want to throw the buoy for, you can take your dog out there and throw them. They can jump off the dock and do their thing. And this is just a picture looking back at the whole project. It's really a spectacular project, and when we get out there during sunny days and you're kind of being thoughtful about it, it's really impressive, and it's great to be part of it. But most of the time you got your head down and you're just trying to get things finished, and so sometimes you forget what a fantastic thing the city and Ignite are doing with this piece of property. And it took a tremendous amount of vision by the mayor, the city council, and Ignite to do it. But it's when you see it taking shape and when the board gets out there, it really starts to hit you how spectacular it's going to be. So I'm glad to answer any question the board might have.
Questions for Phil?
Mr. Chairman? Bill, if we go back to the kind of the developed site where you have streets and things like that, we still have some streets that need to be named in there, is that correct?
Yes.
So how many are we looking to name?
I think that there's 5. This one will probably remain Atlas because Atlas continues down through here, but there's, and Suzanne continues down through here, but there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The reason I didn't include this street up here, which would be kind of streets potentially 6 and 7, is this street may not exist if we end up selling this parcel here, or if Ignite ends up selling this parcel to one big commercial use, for instance. So 5 for sure, potentially 6.
Tony, I'm wondering whether we should get some type of mechanism between the Ignite board and the city council to put together maybe a list of names, or how we would go about that. I think it needs to be a joint effort between Ignite and the city to do something there.
So the technically we probably should have had it done already. But the city has been gracious with the preliminary plating phase. When we move into development of these blocks, we're going to have to submit, just to refresh the board's memory, we've platted it at the URD level. So remember when we had to create boundaries for the URD, so we've platted at that level. So we're going to do an amendment to that plat. And at that time, we'll have to have street names because Hillary won't allow us to proceed without street names at that point. So probably in a month to 6 weeks.
Okay. So Tony, if you wouldn't mind talking to Troy, and maybe we could get some kind of process together where we can have a joint effort to name those streets.
Good idea.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Bill, just briefly, could you go all the way to almost your last slide that you showed? Just so the board knows, we haven't forgot about the conversation regarding pilings. And Phil and I are chatting about coming up with a potential budget line item for fiscal FY21 budgets for the districts to mitigate some of those pilings for board consideration.
And part of the proposal will be to be as strategic as possible, where you can see some of the shallow pilings here that end up below the surface at Summer Pool. Those are certainly number ones that need to come out. Some of these other ones that we may be able to use in the event, the log boom, the west, we call it the west log boom. It was probably the lowest on the priority list, but it has some good benefits from it, from keeping boats from coming up and trying to land on the shore here, which would be a little bit of a challenge. But to really protect the pedestrians that are going to be in the water in this area, we may be able to reuse some of those, the taller ones in this area, but certainly some of these shallow ones, and there's some shallow ones right there and in this area, and maybe even these tall ones. So we were gonna put a little plan together and a budget for that work.
Does the log boom help with wake?
It does. It's a relatively, it's not a significant attenuation, because the wake will move under it, and for the most part, it just lifts the we call them the boom sticks. It'll lift the boom sticks and roll underneath it, because they're not very rigid, but it does a little bit for it.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Last item on the report, Mr. Chairman, is the continuation of the agenda item for Ignite CDA, potential support for emergency economic community needs. Don't really have any structured comments around this other than it's a continuing board agenda item, and just open it up for any discussion, further discussion that the board might have on this front.
Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to bring up, through the city, we still do have some CDBG Community Block Development Grant funds available, specifically for the pandemic. The number one priority for that fund is housing and food assistance, and Hillary and her team are still looking for people to apply in those areas, so there still are a sizable amount of funds still available for those block grants. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Okay. Any other discussion? Hearing none. So we just leave it on there as a discussion topic then, or in case we have a need or an idea that comes up, or?
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
That's it. Next on the agenda is board commissioner comments. I see you three sitting up there nice and quietly.
Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to add that on one of my several walks down through the Fort Ground area, I saw that they were breaking ground on what I believe is the 6th house on Park Drive. So we will, and the 5 houses that have been done there now are very, very nice homes. I think it's something that the board can be really proud of, that they were part of that. But number 6 looked like it was starting this week.
That's excellent. That's really nice. It does look really nice in there. Anybody else? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn then.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned. And that's a wrap.
Thank you. See you all later.
See ya.